We continue now at the top of Daf Nunam Aleph and Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesuvos Daf 50a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara was discussing what happens in a situation where a person writes over all of his property to his sons. Do his sons then need to support him? And the Gemara now brings a proof from Rabbi Yonason. Rabbi Yonason says we had this exact situation. V'asesinu liznei, and I forced them to support him. In other words, the father had given all of his property to his sons, and he forced the sons to support him, and that's why this individual, this father, was so grateful to Rabbi Yonason. Rashi over here says, V'asesinu kafisi osam bechazak, I forced them with strength. Umivnei shetarachdi olav likones lo lifnim mishuras adin mechavevani. And because of the fact that I went lifnim mishuras adin, I wanted to help out this father in order that he be supported. So that's why right now he was kissing his leg. That was the story on the previous Amud. That's why he loves me. And so the Gemara now brings a proof in terms of what is the actual halacha. If you say correctly, lav dina, that's not actually the halacha. In other words, he went lifnim mishuras adin on behalf of the father, but really that's not the actual halacha. Mishum hachi asiyinu, so that's exactly what it means over here. That's why he had to force them. That's why he did that. Elo iyamrit dina, but if you're going to say that this is the din by the court would say that the sons have to support the father. Asiyinu boy, so is it necessary to force the sons in this manner? And so therefore the story indicates that this is not the halacha, that according to the halacha, according to the din, the sons would not have to support the father in such a situation. Rashi over here says, "V'idinahu ein kan gemilas tova lahachzik lo tova shal karcho yishbar." If this was the din, you don't have to tell the guy, "Oh, you did such a favor for me," because he would have had to judge this way. This would have been the true halacha. So again, you see that the halacha is not like Rabbi Law. He was the one that paskined that the sons do need to support the father. The halacha is not like that. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Law says this is now the third ruling of Rabbi Law the Gemara is bringing. But Usha hiskinu, in Usha they made the following takara, hamevazvez al yevazvez yoser michomish. If somebody gives his money to the poor, if somebody gives charity, he should not give more than a fifth of his property to charity. And the Gemara says, Tanya nami hachi, we have a brisa that supports this as well. Hamevazvez al yevazvez yoser michomish. Again, somebody who scatters his money, he shouldn't give away more than a fifth. Shama yitzdarech lebrios. Maybe he's going to need people to support him. We don't want him to become destitute. There was an incident where somebody wanted to give more than a fifth, and his friend did not allow him to do so. Now who was the friend? It was Rabbi Yeshevov. And some people say Rabbi Yeshevov, it was actually Rabbi Yeshevov who wanted to give away the money, and his friend did not allow him to do it. And who was the friend of Rabbi Yeshevov? Rabbi Akiva, his friend was Rabbi Akiva. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Nachman says, V'itema Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Some people say it's Rav Acha bar Yaakov that says, Micro, what is the pasuk that indicates this, that it's up to a fifth that the person should give away? The pasuk says, V'chol asher titen li asera asrenu loch. It says you give meiser, but it says a double language. Asera asrenu, so you understand that it's 1/10 plus 1/10. You see that the limit is going to be 2/10, which is the same as 1/5. And the Gemara says, "V'halodami surah basra surah kama." But when you're talking about 1/10 followed by another tenth, that second 1/10 is not the same amount because it's 1/10 of a lesser amount, so it doesn't really equal 1/5. And to that, the Gemara says, Amar Rav Ashi says, "Asrenu levasra ki kama." The way we understand the pasuk is asrenu, that the last meiser that you're taking should be identical to the first meiser. The latter one should be the same as the first one, and therefore, again, it equals 1/5 in total. And the Gemara continues. Amar Rav Shimi Barashi says, "Ushmuas halolu mismatos v'holchos." These different teachings of Rabbi Law, they actually get smaller as they go. The simanech and the mnemonic to remember the three teachings is ketanim, kasvu, uvizvizu. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Rashi says, Shmuas halalu Rabbi Law b'takonas usha. These are three statements of Rabbi Law saying various institutions, saying various takonas from Usha. Mismatos v'holchos, they get smaller as they go, meaning to say me amoroim, meaning they get smaller in terms of amoroim. Harishona Amar Rabbi Law Amar Reish Lakish mishum de Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. The first statement was Rabbi Law from Reish Lakish from Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Hashniya Rabbi Law Amar Reish Lakish. The second statement was just Rabbi Law from Reish Lakish. It did not include Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. And Shlishas Rabbi Law l'chudei. The third one was just Rabbi Law. That's what it means. It's mismatos v'holchos v'simonech b'seder halachos v'oteda seder miyut. And the way to remember the order of these halachos is ketanim, kasvu, uvizvizu. What's ketanim? Bonav u'benosav kashen ketanim. He said you have to support your children when they're minors. And the second one was kasvu, meaning kosev nechasav, the person who writes over all his property to his sons, he is supported from that property. And the last one, uvizvizu hamevazvez al yevazvez, that you don't give away more than a fifth. And that way you will not mix up which one was said by 3 Amoraim, which one by 2 Amoraim, and which one was just Rabbi Allah. And we'll back up here to one other Rashi, Asrenu. We said that Asrenu teaches that the latter Meiser is the same as the first one. It could have said the double language in a different fashion. It could have said Aser Aser. It didn't have to say Asrenu. Hachikamar Asrenu Karishon. Asrenu indicates like the first Meiser. Kolomer Meiser Sheini Yehi Karishon, meaning the second one should be like the first one. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yitzchak says, Bu'usha hiskinu, in Usha they instituted, Shehei Adam misgalgelin beno ad shtei mesrei shana, that when a person is teaching his son, if his son refuses to learn, he should be patient with him until he's 12 years old. Mikan va'elach yoredim olachaya, but from that age onward, so then he should already harass him, he should make sure that he starts to learn at that age. And the Gemara says, Ini, is this really true? V'amar le Rav le Rav Shmuel bar Shilas, but Rav said to Rav Shmuel bar Shilas, Batzer mi bar Shis, if he's less than 6 years old, lo to Kabel, don't accept that student yet. Bar Shis, but once he's already 6 years old, Kabel, he should be accepted. V'safi le Ketura, and he should be stuffed like an ox. And so it sounds like, on the contrary, already from 6 years old, you should be forcing the student to learn. And the Gemara says, no, it's not the same thing. In yes, Safi le Ketura, you do have to stuff him like an ox. Miyu eino yoredim olachaya, but still at the age of 6, you don't harass the student to learn if he doesn't want to learn. Ad liachar shtei mesrei shana, until he's 12 years old. Only when he's 12 years old is he yoredim olachayev. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say another answer. Lokash, it's not difficult. Hala Mikra, Hala Mishnah. 6 years old is the age for learning Psukim, and 12 years old is the age for learning Mishnah. The Amar Abaya, like Abaya said, Amr Li'ay, my mother said to me, Bar Shis La Mikra, 6 years old for learning Psukim, Bar Eser La Mishnah, 10 years old for Mishnah, Bar Tleisar L'Tanesa, and when a child is 13 years old, that's when he can fast Me'es La'es for 24 hours, Uvetinokas, and if it's a young girl, not a young boy, Bas Tresar, so then it is at 12 years old. And Rashi over here explains, Megalgelim Beno, again, until 12 years old, he treats his son gently, and Mesarim Mililmod, if he doesn't want to learn, Yagalgelim Benachas, with Dvarm Rachem, he should treat him gently, softly. But then after that, 12 years old, Yoredim Olachayev, then he should harass him already. Lerdoso Beritsu of Choser Lechem, he should hit him with a strap, he should take away his food, and then he should force him to learn. Rav Shmuel bar Shilas Melamed Tinokos Hayer. Rav Shmuel bar Shilas, he was a teacher of students. That's why Rav was giving Rav Shmuel bar Shilas advice in terms of teaching. V'safi le Ketura, and again he said, 6 years old, don't take them. Once you take them at 6 years old, you stuff them like an ox. Haliteyu Torah Kishor, you have to feed him Torah like an ox. Shata Malito va'ov so Michael, just like you stuff an ox with food. So the same thing here, you teach him Torah in that fashion. And then again we said that by 13 years old, the Tanisa Me'es La'es, he can fast for 24 hours. Lisanos Kol Hayom, to fast the whole day. V'chinuchel L'shos Mikodem Lachein Shenasayim Kedarminim Biyuma. Well, a little earlier than that, that's when you train them to fast just for a few hours, not for the full 24 hours. Uvetinokas, now when it comes to a young girl, Shehi Memaheres Lahavi Koach, a young girl is quicker to have this kind of strength. She'ena Mateshes Koach Belim Torah. Rashi says the reason why a girl is quicker is because she doesn't get weak in the learning of Torah. V'tarti Sari de Ka'amar, now when it says over here, it talks about 12 years old, Shnas Shtei Mesrei Gufa Ka'amar, we're talking about the year 12 itself. Di'iba Shtei Mesrei V'yom Echad, because if you're talking about 12 years old and a day, so Doraisi, that's already a Doraisa halacha that they have to fast. Shemevia Shtei Sarus Uvasonshem, that's when she has 2 hairs, that's when she gets punished. Vein Sorech Lanu Lilmod Mimeni Kasa Shal Abaya, that you wouldn't need to learn from the mother or from the nursemaid of Abaya. So what we're learning over here really is that even before that, at that age already, by the age of 12 itself, as opposed to 12 years old and a day, already at that age, she's able to fast for 24 hours. And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya, Abaya says, Amrali Aim, my mother said to me, again, this is a teaching by Abaya's foster mother, Hi Bar Shis, the Tarkale Akrava Biyoma de Mishlam Shis, if you have a 6-year-old who is stung by a scorpion on the day that he completes 6 years, Lachai, he will not live. Maya Asuse, what do you do to heal this situation? Mirarta Dedaya Chivarta Beshichra, you take the bile of a white vulture and you mix it in beer, and Nishbiye Vinashki, and what you do is you rub it on him and you let him drink it, and that will heal him from this sting. And the Gemara continues, Hi Bar Shasa, let's say you have a child that is a year old, the Tarakle Zibura, Biyoma de Mishlam Shasa, and he's stung by a hornet on the day that he completes the year. Again, Lachai, he will not live. Maya Asuse, what is the way to heal him? Atsusa, the Dikla B'maya, you take the fibers of a palm tree in water, Nishbi V'nishake, again, you rub it on him and he drinks it, and that will heal him. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Ketina says, Kol hamachnis es beno pachos mi ben sheish, anybody who brings his child to learn Torah less than 6 years old, Ratz acharav ve'eino magiu, he'll run after him, but he won't reach him. It means to say that the child will become weak from learning Torah at such a young age. Iko diamri, some say chaveirav ratzan acharav, it means to say his friends will run after him, ve'ein magiano, so and they will not reach him, meaning he's going to be very learned. It's going to be impossible for his friends to catch up to him in terms of his studies. And the Gemara comments to Tarvayu Isnu, and really both of them are true. Cholish v'gomer, he'll become weak, but he'll also become learned. And the Gemara says, if you want, we could say another explanation of this. Had dechachish, had debari. It depends if he's weak, and it depends if he is healthy. If he's a weak child, he should not be brought in under 6 years old. He's going to weaken. But if he's a healthy, strong child, he can be brought in even under 6 years old, and then he will be so advanced in his studies that the others, his friends, will not be able to catch up with him. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says, Be'usha hiskinu, in Usha they instituted, Ha'isha shemachra b'nichsei melug b'chaye bala. Let's say the wife, she sells her nichsei melug. Again, the nichsei melug is the property she brings into the marriage, so the husband gets the produce of the property, but she owns the keren, she owns the principal. So let's say she sells that principal while her husband is alive, umeisa, and then she dies. Habal motzi miyad halakucho, so then the husband, because he inherits the wife, he's allowed to take from those who purchased that property. And the Gemara continues, Ashkechei Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef l'Rabbi Avo. Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef found Rabbi Avo to have a koi bu'uchlasa de Usha. He was standing among the congregation in Usha. Amar Lei said to him, Man mara d'shmaita de Usha. Who is the one who says over these teachings when we say something from Usha? Who is the person who is giving over these teachings? Amar Lei, so he said to him, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. The person is Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. He's the one that gives over the takanas of Usha. Tana minei arba and zivnin. He learned this from him 40 times. V'dami le command monchale bekiste, and it was as if he placed it in his pocket. In other words, he had this teaching with him after learning it from him 40 times. Rashi over here says, Shemachra b'nichsei melug. Again, she sells the nichsei melug, hakeren. We're talking about the principal. We're talking about the actual property. Habal motzi. So the husband then, he's able to take from the lakuchos. The shavyu rabbanon kilokeach. Because the rabbanon say there's an issue in Baba Basra, machlokas in Baba Basra, whether the husband is considered to be a yoresh of his wife, or is he considered a lokeach of his wife. That's a question in Baba Basra. And so it's saying over here, he's considered like a lokeach. He's considered like a purchaser. V'hu lokeach rishon. He's considered like the first purchaser, and therefore he's able to take it from the other lakuchos. B'uchlasa asifas b'nei adam. Again, there was a gathering of people. He saw him. Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef found Rabbi Avo among this gathering, and he asked him who is the one that says over these takanas of Usha. And Tana Minei, he learned it from him, the Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Marahu, that it's Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina who is the master of this teaching. He learned it from him 40 times, and then he knew it clearly. And the Gemara continues, Ashrei Shomrei Mishpat Osa Tzedakah B'Chaleis. This is a pasuk in Tehillim. Fortunate is the one who keeps justice and does tzedakah all of the time. V'chi efshar la'asos tzedakah b'chaleis. Is it possible to give tzedakah all the time? Darshu Rabboseinu she'b'Yavna. So our rabbis in Yavna, they darshan the pasuk as follows: V'yamri lo Rabbi Eliezer. Some say it's Rabbi Eliezer who darshans the pasuk. Zeh hazon bonav uvenosav kishein ketanim. The pasuk is referring to somebody who supports his sons and daughters when they are minors. Like we said, that's really considered like a tzedakah, because it's not an obligation. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, Zeh megadol yosum v'yosoma b'soch beisu masiyon. This pasuk refers to somebody who raises orphans in his household and he marries them off. And the Gemara continues in Darshans, another pasuk in Tehillim, Hon va'osher b'veiso v'tzidkaso omedes lad. It says that there's wealth in the person's house and his tzedakah is forever. And the Gemara says, what does this refer to? Rav Huna v'Rav Chisda. Rav Huna and Rav Chisda have a machlokas about it. Chad omar zeh halomei Torah malamda. One says this pasuk refers to somebody who learns Torah and he teaches the Torah. V'chadam, and the other one says kosev Torah neviim uksuvim umashilon la'acherim. This refers to somebody who writes Torah, neviim, and ksuvim and lends them to others. And the Gemara darshans another pasuk in Tehillim, Urei vonim levanecha shalom al Yisrael. It says there's going to be peace on Klal Yisrael if you see children to your children. Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Kevon shebonim levanecha. Once there are children to your children, shalom al Yisrael, then there is peace. Why? The loasi lidei chalitza v'yibam, because they're not going to come to chalitza and yibam. And again, the halacha of chalitza and yibam only apply when there are no children. If the husband dies with no children, then you have issues of chalitza and yibam. But if there are children, it is not an issue. So there is peace. And the Gemara continues another drush of that pasuk. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, "Kevon shabanim levanecha." Once there are children to your children, Shalom al dayane Yisrael. Then there is peace to the judges of Israel. To loasi linsuye, because you're not going to have people arguing over the inheritance, because it is clear that the inheritance is going to go to the sons. Rashi over here says, "Zehazon banov uvenos of ketanim." What's considered tzedakah? The tzedakah is when the person supports his children who are minors. Shetamid yom v'layla hein olav. That's a kind of tzedakah you do all the time, day and night. V'yitzedakah she'ein chiyav olav b'hem. Like we said, it's not an obligation, so it's considered to be a tzedakah. That's why it's oset tzedakah b'chol eis. Hon va'osher beveso. Again, the pasuk talking about wealth and tzedakah. Shein hamamon kala. It's like the money doesn't run out. V'yafa pichein tzedkaso medeslad. But yet the tzedakah goes forever. How could he have wealth and the tzedakah goes forever? And so the Gemara suggests that halome Torah malamda. He learns Torah and he teaches the Torah. Miskayem esbo, meaning he's able to keep the Torah for himself. Harehon va'osher beveso. That's the wealth in his house. V'tzedkaso medeslad. But there's also tzedakah forever. Al shetarach lalamid latalmidim, that he took the time to teach the students. Zahakos. Another explanation was he writes the Torah, Nevi'im, and Kesuvim and lends them out. Hasvarim kayamim lo she'enam kalim. The svarim, they belong to him, they don't become destroyed. But tzidkaso medeslad, but the tzedakah is going to last forever. And finally, the Gemara said, in suye, if you're going to have sons, there's not going to be arguments over the inheritance. Mikaru v'kodem anachla. There's going to be no arguments about who's the closer relative and who gets the inheritance, because it's clear that the sons are going to get the inheritance. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Zemedrish Darish Rabbi Elazar lefnei Chachamim. This was the medrash that Rabbi Elazar darshed in front of the Chachamim. This has to do with the fact that the sons, they get the inheritance after death, and also the daughters, they get the support, they get the mizonos only after the death of the father. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Amud Beis.